Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, then you see that today is a YouTube video podcast episode where we have a guest in-house. Today, we have Jess, my assistant here. Jess, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
And today, everybody is here to know what the drama is between me and my assistant because tomorrow's actually your last day of work.
Oh my gosh. Let's not talk about it.
We're going to talk all about the drama. Don't you worry. Okay. But before we do, we want to discuss a little bit of your personal journey and your personal growth and development over the last year and a half or so, because I think there's a lot of teachable moments that the listeners will really gain a lot of value from.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk first about landing the job. What did it take for you to land a job like this? I feel like there's a lot of people out there who would love to do what you do and get an opportunity like this. So can you explain what that process was like and what it required in the form of like self-confidence and self-belief to even go after something like this?
Oh, yeah. That's so funny because I was like replaying like the hiring process to myself this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's so funny. I had a feeling like you might ask me that. But so I kind of like approached Emily, like as soon as you mentioned you were moving to Houston, I had this feeling that you might be hiring. So I was like, kind of like already on the lookout for that. And then when you did post that you were going to be hiring, I just like, I don't know. I had this feeling that it was like meant to be. Like, I felt like God was saying like, okay, this is made for you. And so I slid into your DMs and it's so funny because when I messaged you, I had Taylor and my mom like read the message because I was like, I don't want this to sound desperate. Like, I want it to sound like, hey, I think I'd be a good fit, but like also like we have all these things in common. This is what I bring to the table. And so they read it and they were like, yeah, definitely send it.
And I have to say, just on regard to that message, that's exactly what it was. Like when I read it, it seemed like so confident and just like, hey, this is how I bring value to you and your business. Because I've gotten a lot of messages before that's like, oh, I would love to work with you. Yeah. But it's more so like just starry eyes. And I'm like, come back down to earth and let's talk about like how this would actually work. Yeah. And you were actually the one that was like, these are all the ways that I would benefit what you already do. And I was like, whoa. So good job on that. Nailed it.
I'm so glad because I knew that. I was like, she has so many followers that probably like come at her all the time. It's like, hey, like I want to work with you, but it's probably out of like more of selfish reasons. And like, I really did not want to come across like that at all. So I'm so glad. Like,
yeah, it landed perfectly.
Yeah. And we had so much in common and we had already kind of been messaging back and forth about like things that were going on in the country. And we just had a lot of the same values and beliefs and like core values and things like that. And so I was like, I really feel like I would be a good fit for her. And I loved everything you were doing with Evolve. I loved the podcast. Like I genuinely just loved what you were doing, who you were. And so I was like, I want to be a part of this. And so that's kind of what I tried to convey in the message. And if anybody's trying to do that, you know, trying to work for somebody that they are inspired by, you know, don't try not to come off desperate, I guess is like the way to put it, but like be heartfelt about it and say what you can bring to the table and how you can kind of help.
Yeah, I think one of the number one things you could do, which you did so well, is just really lay it out. This is how I bring value to you and what you do. And as someone who has a brand and a business, it's really important for me that somebody can not just do the job, but that their heart is in it. They're passionate about it. Right. And that's one thing that I noticed about you right away is that your heart was just like so on the same page with everything that this brand is about. Yeah. And that really, it spoke a lot to, because you can hire anyone. You can hire anyone to do a job, but you can't get the heart that like you have for it.
Yes.
So that really is important, and both are important, right? Yeah. It's not like you can have one and not the other.
Right.
You got to have, someone who's willing to work hard and learn. Yeah. And that's one thing that you did really well is you were always learning. Originally, I didn't plan on handing the podcast over to you. Yeah. Originally, I was going to have a, podcast editor come in and be someone else. But you actually had asked, you were like, let me try. Yeah. Like, I'll learn.
I was very interested in learning it. So I'm glad you gave me the opportunity because it was fun. Yeah.
So talk about the learning curve of learning new skills, adaptability, teachability, and how you've cultivated those in this position.
I feel like my family and friends have always kind of described me as those things, like adaptable, teachable. And you have to have those qualities, honestly, in life. Like, if not, like, you're just going to kind of be stagnant. So yes, I knew coming into this position, there were things that I didn't know how to do, or that I had never done before. Maybe I'd researched it or whatever, but I didn't like actually do them. So I was excited. Nobody likes to like be the beginner, you know, but I just saw it as an opportunity to learn something new, which, you know, was kind of our theme for like such a long time, was like learning something new every single day, because we were learning together essentially. And so that was just really exciting. So I would just say, like, you have to have an open mind, and you have to just understand, like, yes, I'm the beginner right now, but eventually I won't be, you know, and like now, you know, obviously I'm not an expert at podcasting or whatever, but now I can show somebody how to do it.
Like you taught me something yesterday about some of the audio editing.
Right. And so that's really exciting. So
that's
just
cool.
know, like, eventually, like, you can become an expert, and you can, you know, if you just stick at it, and like, you just have to like reframe your mindset, I guess. Like,
yeah. And now it's so cool because now you are so much more valuable by having all these new skill sets. Like you could take that and go and do your own podcast if you wanted one day, or, you know, there's so many things that you can apply this to.
Yeah.
So what about when you mess up or get things wrong? Because I think a lot of people are scared to try something new, to be in that learning phase, because they're scared to not be perfect.
Oh my gosh. So yes, that's me too. Like, nobody wants to mess up.
Yeah.
But, you know, nobody's perfect either. So that's going to happen. Like, that's just completely unavoidable. And that's actually like one of my quotes that I kind of like think about. I just recently discovered it like a couple weeks ago, but it's by Tony Robbins. And he says, I think he says, complexity is the enemy of execution. And so I think we as humans, we make things much harder than like they really are.
So true. That's so true.
And like, we let fear and like self-doubt cause us to like not take action. And so I think that, like, as long as you understand, like, mistakes are going to get made, that's okay. Like, own up to them and just like realize, like, okay, I'll learn how to do it better. I'll learn how to do it different. And next time, like, it won't happen. So it's just unavoidable. So you just have to like accept that, and just don't let like the fact that it's not perfect stop you from, you know, going after whatever it is.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, what about the weekly mentorship calls? So with the Evolve X team, we have weekly mentorship calls, and we were talking yesterday about it, how you were like, originally I thought this was like a team meeting, maybe set some weekly goals, but it ended up being more. So could you speak to a little bit about these calls and what role they had in your journey of evolving?
Yeah, they definitely turned out to be so much more than what I thought. Like, when you had originally invited me to join them, like, I could hear you on the weekly calls, but I was also doing my own thing. I usually had headphones in, so I couldn't really hear. I just thought they were like updates on business stuff. And so when you asked me to join, I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll get to see what's going on in the business and stuff like that. But it was so much more than that. And like, Hannah and Amanda are just such amazing women, and getting to know them has just been such a blessing to me. They're just so awesome. They're awesome coaches, but they're also just awesome people. And yeah, that was just really great to have women to open up to about not only my wins, and then you guys would always be so excited for me for those things, but also like on the hard times when I was struggling with certain things, getting advice from like 3 different people,
right?
Like getting different perspectives like that was so helpful. And I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of that. And I hope that I like brought to the table like what you guys brought. 'Cause like, you guys are amazing. And like, it's why y'all do what y'all do. Honestly, like, you guys all have that gift of just like helping people like realize stuff and like feel certain ways about themselves, like boost of confidence, I guess. So
Yeah, and you do as well. And you brought so much to those calls. And for me, from a business stance, for those that are listening, it's always been really important for me to pour into the people that I work with. Like, I don't just want to do a job, get a service, pay a fee, and be done, shake hands. Like, that's not how I like to do business. If we're really doing business together, especially close business, I want it to be relational. You know, I want to know what's happening in your life. I don't want you here suffering at work because you have stuff going on at home that you aren't able to get support with, or, you know, struggling in your fitness journey and not feeling like you have support or accountability through that. You know, so mind, body, soul, spirit, these are all things that are important to me and people that I work with, do business with. And I think this is just a really beautiful space for us to be able to all come and all provide support and coaching. And two, it's like, with having some of the best coaches, you know, it's like, why not everyone come together and bring their gifts to the table and help each other? Because if we're in a brand of evolving, we must evolve.
We all have to be.
Yeah. And so for me, it's important, you know, that I have to lead that way. So when I decided to have those weekly meetings, we don't really need to have the weekly meeting for all the stuff happening in the business. Like we all do our jobs. We're launch based. You know, this could be emails that we do, but we prioritize this time. And I think it's important to prioritize this as a business owner, to make sure that you're pouring into your people relationally, because if they are growing, it's only going to help the individual, which helps the team, which helps the business.
Exactly.
It really is this like overall flow. And, you know, there's so many times that we got on those calls and you can just tell the relief afterwards that everyone has from just being able to say, hey, it's actually a hard one. Like it's not been easy. It's not been good, you know, but with having people that can help you reach your own clarity, I think there's a lot of power in that.
Absolutely. And it's always been a safe space coming here. I've always known, like, if something's bothering me, I can easily bring it up. Like, there's no issue if I have to bring it up. Like, and so it kind of came to like a point where we were like, I was really looking forward to the calls and like being able to like catch up with the girls and also just like talk about anything that's bothering me or like on my mind. So that was like, that's just really special. Like, not every place offers that. And that's part of the reason why I did want to work for you, but like also just my past history has always been working for like small businesses, because I feel like it's just more personal. Like I've never been like a person that wanted to climb the ladder. Yeah, like that's never been me. I've never wanted to work for like a corporate company, and like I just feel like you lose a lot when you do that. So that's something I loved about working here.
Yeah, and I think me too. Like you know how I am. I'm relational. I love community. I love people. And so for me, it's more fulfilling to actually feel like you're a part of each other's lives, not just doing work together. So that's been really beautiful. If you guys listening don't have a group that you can go to, that you can grow alongside of, I encourage you to start your own. Yeah. It could literally just be you and one other person.
Right.
You know,
and then it can grow from there. Like
me and my girlfriends, we started a book club, and I've been loving that book club, and it is personal development related, that we may go into like some fiction stuff later or something. But it's been personal development related, and going to those meetings every week, sometimes it kind of feels like an inconvenience, right? Because you're like, oh, I got to get to the meeting.
Right. But then once you're there,
you're like, wow, this is the best thing that I could do for myself. And you leave feeling more fulfilled. And I really encourage people to start really making a commitment and dedication to those things in your life that might feel inconvenient sometimes. You might not want to do it, but that when you assess afterwards, you know, you feel so much better after. Really make that a priority in your life.
Yeah, I think that's great. And that's not really something I did a whole lot before I started working for you. So I definitely feel like I've come out of my shell in a sense. Like, you know, when you have people over, you have game nights. It's I don't know any of these people, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to have fun. And like I've met so many people through you. And so that's been great, because I'm usually like very introverted, and I'm like, oh, I know one person out of like everyone that's going to be there. I don't think so. But like now I'm just like, yeah, for sure. Like I want to meet new people. So.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
And shameless plug, I have a group called Evolve X Worldwide. It's a mentorship group that you guys, the listeners, everyone is invited to. Everyone can join. It's $14.99 a month, and it's an online representation of what we're talking about. Yeah. So I really encourage you guys, if you are looking to start within a community, this would be a really great place to start. Yeah. But I definitely encourage you guys to create those relationships and those communities in person in your hometown as well.
Yes.
So, okay, let's talk about the retreat. I'm so glad that we got to experience a retreat together. Oh my gosh. I know the first retreat you saw on social media, right? So this one, you were behind the scenes. You were helping plan. You were involved in every single detail. You made the whole thing run while we were there. So talk to me about the retreat. Was the retreat what you thought it was going to be? Was it different?
Oh, it was different because I was like, okay, I'm going to be working behind the scenes. I kind of like, I had this vision of like, I'm going to be there, but I'm not going to be there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'll be there physically, but I'm going to be like, is this ready to go next? Like, what are we doing next? And like, kind of like more work related, kind of there to like assist and make sure everybody has a good time. But that's where I was wrong. Cause like, I really was immersed and I really was like an attendee, you know? And, oh my gosh, that will probably be the highlight of my year for sure. Because so awesome. It was like, oh my God, it was such an amazing, incredible experience. And that's what everybody says. Every single person that was there was just like, this was the best part of my year so far. And I think we all stretched ourselves. We all got really far outside of our comfort zone, but like in the best way possible. Like not just with the ice bath, like that was crazy intense.
I was so proud of you for that. You rocked that.
Oh, thank you.
And then at the end, you even dunked. I was just so impressed.
Yeah. I was like, I'm already here. Like, what's, you know, a couple more inches, like I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I really felt like a badass afterwards. And like, just everybody felt like, wow, I cannot believe I just did that. But like the breath work too, before that, like that was something I had never done. And that was an incredible experience. And then like the prayer circle that we did, that in and of itself was just like completely life-changing. Like it was something that I like, for people that don't know, like we each got a chance to pray for each other and then we would flip and that person would pray for us. And I have always had kind of like a fear, not a fear, but I've been nervous to pray for people out loud. Like I'll pray for people in my head or with, you know, on my own all the time. Yeah. But holding someone's hand or like touching them and praying over them, that was something that I've wanted to get better at, like more confident and comfortable doing. And so when you're just kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing, like you threw it on us, like
I did.
You know what? Forget what I had planned. This is what we're doing. And I was like, what? Like, okay, I can do this. And then like after like the second prayer, I was like,
going in.
I love this. Like, who can I pray for next? And so it's just something that has stuck with me. Yeah. And like, I feel super confident to just do it for anybody. And so that was life-changing. But yeah, the whole experience, like getting to meet the people that showed up, the other attendees, like just getting to know each and every one of them, like...
Aren't they amazing?
They're amazing people.
Truly, they are some of the most incredible people. And I feel so lucky and blessed that I'm connected to people like that all over the world. That gets me excited because I'm like, what if we did these retreats all over and we got people together in their own respective communities and we could link these incredible people with each other.
And then after the retreat, it's like they have these connections for like a lifetime. Because I know like, all the attendees, like we're all following each other on Instagram and we're commenting on each other's, you know, stuff and liking everything. And it's like, we have built these relationships that we all had this experience together. And that's something you can never take away. And it was just like so incredible. And like, I'm so grateful I got to be a part of that. Like, I honestly, like leading up to it, I was like, I hope this goes off without a hitch. Like I've done everything that I could possibly think of to make sure that everything goes off perfectly, but who knows, you know? Yeah. And then like, as it started, I was like, wow.
It just had like, such a natural flow to it.
Yeah.
I've been really thankful that both of those retreats have gone that way, where there was just such a flow to it. Even think about even when I had my dad come and guest speak, right? I imagined him doing a little guest speaking thing. And of course it turned into something so much more where, you know, we're speaking into each other's lives and praying over each other and whatnot. And that ended up going way longer than planned, but he finished at the exact moment that we needed to like leave. Yeah. So it actually, and even like our prayer circle, I did not have that planned before he got there. And somehow we finished that many people exactly when it was time to transition. So like,
somehow.
Yeah, it was just crazy how there was such a flow and there was like a rhythm to the retreat. Yeah. And then by the end of it, I feel like we'd all gotten so deep and so real and so honest that we're like, okay, comedic relief from now on, like nothing heavy.
Right. There was definitely some emotional times for a lot of the attendees, myself included. Like I think I cried like twice and I was not expecting that at all, but it was like in the best way possible. It was like you look around the room and there's like 5, 6 other people crying and you're like, oh yes, like I'm not alone. But like there were so many situations where it just like it hit you so deep and I was like, I know I'm in a safe place. I'm just gonna let the tears fall. And I'm like, I helped put this event on. I'm Emily's assistant. Like I don't care.
I love how you're justifying this in your head.
Like I'm like I'll just let it out. Yeah, like let it out. And so that was so awesome.
I think that's beautiful. I think we all need that safe space that we know that we can let those things out in, you know, especially around other people that are there to support, to grow and to evolve. And, you know, everyone having their own moments, I think, you know, kind of just opens up the floor to say, hey, like this is just my moment and I can own that.
Yeah.
So, okay, you'd mentioned breath work for a second there. So we did breath work at the event, but we also did breath work here at the house with my friend Justin, who came and led us through a one-on-one breath work session. Or I'm sorry, well, not one-on-one. It was like a small group.
Tiny group, yeah.
Yeah, so some friends, you and I, we did a breath work session. And talk to me about that experience. What was that experience like for you?
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. I feel like there's been so many times throughout working for you that something will happen and I'll tell you like I really needed that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like and that was one of those situations where I was feeling a little overwhelmed and like having some anxiety. And then that day you were like, hey, I want you to join us for this breath work. And I was like, oh my God, like I need this because I know how amazing I'll feel afterwards.
Yeah.
And so, and I did, I felt incredible. Justin is so amazing. Like I highly recommend like just anything that he offers, like just try
Justin
it.
Lovato.
Yeah. His like, not like his person. I not want to say like his personality, his aura, like
his essence.
Yeah. His essence is like, it's just so inviting and calming and just being around him was amazing. He's, the breath work was awesome. I loved it. And I felt amazing afterwards. And it was exactly what I needed because it was a Friday and I remember I was about to like get into traffic driving like for hours and I was
that's right.
really not looking forward to it. But afterwards I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can totally do this. Like
I cried during that session.
I did too.
I saw you did too.
I did too.
I got up and I was like, oh, thank God she's crying.
Yeah, same. I had like tears rolling down. Again, I was back at the retreat and I'm like, okay, it's okay. This is a safe space, 100%.
Yes.
And so I just let it happen. And then when I saw you were too, I was like, I'm not alone.
Always on the same page.
Yeah.
It really is, guys. It's really deep and really profound what you can experience even through something as simple as your breath. So if you've never experienced it, guys, definitely go and experience it for yourself. I want to talk about some quotes that really speak to you. So you shared one earlier. Do you have another one that really speaks to you?
Okay, yes. So I found this one like a while back. It's actually like, I think it's a Chinese proverb. And it says, be not afraid of going slow, be afraid of staying still. And so that one was just like, you know, it like hit me because I feel like I have been stagnant in my life for a really long time. And kind of like this new business thing that I'm doing, like it's new and it's like I'm a beginner again. I'm starting from the bottom and a lot of times people just like want to rush everything and like be at the top like right away. And it just doesn't happen that way. And so you have to just like know that it's going to take some time and you might go slow in the beginning, but that's better than like not doing anything at all. Yeah. And so that's kind of what that meant to me, and that just kind of helps me realize like I should just be proud that I'm doing stuff every single day, and it's not gonna it's not going to be a rocket ship. I'm not going to like shoot straight to the top right away, but I'm taking the steps, baby steps. So
I love that. I think it's speaks to the people that maybe feel like, oh, well, if I'm not going to do something life-changing today, then I'll just put it off to tomorrow.
Exactly.
When in reality, it's like you have to take even the smallest action on your goals, on the things that you want in order for them to actually happen.
Yep.
So even if you have to register for a new website or, send some emails out, that is significant and it's important.
It totally is.
Yeah, you got to place that significance on the small moments because
Exactly.
when you do that, even if you are going slow, you'll realize one day they compound together and eventually there's a moment where you go from it's been slow for a whole season to like then it does take the rocket ship because now it has so much fuel in it from the previous season that now it's like sustaining.
Right, and you wouldn't have gotten there unless you took those baby steps. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, in the last year and a half, I saw you create consistency within your habits, reading, journaling, the gym, just to name a few. We actually did a podcast episode on building habits, which people can go back and look at. It's a really great episode. Yeah. But I want to start with the first one, reading. What 2 books do you think have helped you the most, and what would you recommend to the listeners?
Well, okay, so Badass Habits, I brought that up in that podcast, but that was something that, I mean, your habits truly like can make or break you. And so that's why it's worth repeating again. Like I absolutely love that book. It really helped me because I'm somebody that really kind of struggles with my habits. And, but I have noticed that when I put in the work to really change them, like it's truly life changing. Like it really is. And so she puts things into such an amazing perspective and makes it seem much easier. And like, so a lot of us like look at changing our habits as like this mountain, but you really can like start small. And that's what I did. And so since I've read that book, like I have noticed so many different things in my life that have gotten better because of it. One of the things being, growing in my relationship with God every single morning, doing my devotional, doing my prayer time. I have always like prayed throughout the day and done like my gratitude, but the devotional and like diving into like the word is not something that I've really done or haven't stayed on top of. But I can say like that book helped me to incorporate that into my life every single day. Like I travel with my devotional now. Like I don't go anywhere without it because it's like I don't feel like my day can start until I do that. So that book has definitely helped me. And then another one that I've read like a few times and I just love it because it's like it's just such practical things and again like makes it so much easier, but it's The Perfect Day Formula.
Yeah.
Which you brought up to me the other day. And I was like, I literally have that book by my bed and I like go through it all the time because it's just like, again, it's just so practical and like the writer makes it super easy. I can't think of his name.
Craig Ballantyne.
Yeah, I love that book too. So that one is something perfect for somebody who's kind of just like struggling with like their to-dos and like
time management.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Cause he just like, the way he lays it out, I'm just like,
wow. Yeah, it helps so much to be able to organize your day in a way that's going to be the most effective, preserve the most amount of energy, and also make sure that your energy is spent on the things that really matter most to you.
Yes.
So it's making time for the business and also making time for your loved ones, making time to push the needle forward, but also to rest.
Right.
It's both.
Right. You have to have that balance.
Yeah. So, okay. How do you journal? Is it long format? Is it lists? And can you give the listeners a journal prompt?
So I kind of do both.
Okay.
Like I feel like if I have a lot in my head and it's kind of like I'm having trouble focusing or being productive, or if I'm having like kind of a little bit more anxiety than normal, then it'll be like a long like maybe a page or two of like what's going on. And then sometimes, honestly, I write letters to God and it's just like, hey, God, like this is what I'm feeling, or this is what I really want for my life. Like, and I try to be specific and ask him for those things, as well as like share what I'm really grateful for. So, and then I'll do lists. Like something that I really like to do is like a visualization where I write what I see myself at, or like how I want to see my life, how I envision my life. I'm not wording it really well, but it's like, okay, who do I want to be? What does she look like? What does she do? What does she drive? What does she wear? You know? And so those are things that like really, really help me, like, especially to take action. Cause I'm like, if this is who I want to be, obviously what I've been doing, it's not getting me to be her. So what do I have to do to like be her? So I would say if you're someone who's kind of struggling with setting goals or like staying on track of your goals, to visualize and write out like how you want your life to be and be super detailed, like super detailed. Like if there's a car you want to drive, like what is that car? What do the seats look like? How do you feel sitting in it? Like, you know, and so I think that that is something that has really, really helped me.
I love that. And I think it's because when you have vision, it really helps to make your why so much stronger.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yes.
And then it's like, it's easier to take the action you need to take because no longer is it just like an empty to-do list of like, I know I should do these things.
Right.
It comes from this inner heart desire and posture of like, I see this for my life and I don't care what's required. Like I'm going to do it.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you brought up your why because like, that's another thing is like, when you start to kind of lose focus, write your why out again. Don't go back and reread it, but like write it out again.
I love that. Don't go back and reread it. I
write
love
it
that.
out again. And I constantly do that. Like I find myself sometimes where I do struggle with self-doubt and I'm like, okay, why are you doing this? And I write it out and I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like I can do this. It really does help. So remembering your why and journaling about it can really help too.
And what I'm hearing from you a lot is in the morning, that's your time for devotional prayer. You're visualizing, you're essentially manifesting who you want to be in your life. You're combining that with your faith and your prayer all together, right?
Yes, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that in the morning, you're being so intentional about shaping your mindset for the day, your heart posture for the day, your focuses for the day. And I think you doing that is what's going to allow you to fully step into that.
Oh, 100%. And this is not really something that I've done in the past. Like I have to say for sure, you know, working with you has really helped me to do these things. I've heard stuff about having a morning routine and in my mind, it was like, I don't know, kind of different than this. But this, I wouldn't change. I mean, I'm sure it might change like as the time goes on, but the devotionals and my time with God and the journaling, like those are things that won't change. Like that's always going to be something that I incorporate because it truly does start my day off on the right foot. And like something else that I incorporated just in the last year was like not getting on my phone first thing in the morning. That was something that I did. And I'm like, it's like life-changing when you stop doing that.
Right.
Like it's so amazing. I'll get on my phone because like my devotional has scripture verses that I'll just like look up on my phone because it's like easy. But I don't get on social media. I don't check my email. I don't do any of that for at least like the first hour of my day. And like that's been like
game-changing.
Oh, so game-changing. And it just like sets the tone of the day. I know you talk about that in a lot of your podcasts. And I know you did one recently where you said like, how's the, are you setting the tone of the day or is the day set?
Yeah. Like, are you setting the pace and the tone of the day or are you allowing the things of the day to set it for you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is just something that I highly encourage you to try to do. Like maybe put your phone away for like at least the first 30 minutes, at least. Like if you can do longer, but.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to really valuing your mindset, your mind space, you know, your heart for the day and protecting it.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm not going to allow anything to come into this. I'm going to fill it with really good things that are going to help me have a positive mindset, a can-do attitude, and the right like spirit and work ethic behind what it is I need to do. 100%.
I mean, I used to start my day out getting online or on social media and like I'm instantly comparing my life. And that is just, it's self-sabotage. Like you're just asking to like, just like have a crappy day in my opinion. Cause then all day you're just thinking about the things that you saw and you're comparing yourself and that's like the worst feeling ever.
It is. And I think it's important for people to practice becoming self-aware in these moments, right? Because we all fall into it or we find ourselves doing it. And what's good is I at least have this like internal mental chatter that's going on that says like, hey, why are you doing this? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, put it down.
Yes.
And I have to like, just like throw it down real quick to like get myself out of this like zombie mode. I feel like it's so easy to fall into the zombie mode where you're just on your phone, you don't even know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
You're not even
mindless scrolling.
You're not even like satisfied or fulfilled by what you are consuming.
Right. If anything, you're feeling worse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and sometimes you have to go through and really clean out your follow list. And that's something that I've done a handful of times. Mm-hmm. And I encourage everybody to do that, because like if the things that you're seeing aren't encouraging you or inspiring you in a good way, because like you can be inspired, but then you can also start comparing. So you have to like draw the line on what is inspiring you, or is that causing you to compare. So just be careful there. But clean out your following list for sure.
I agree. Okay, so fitness. How has your fitness journey evolved, and where are you at now with it?
Well, okay, so I have struggled a little bit just in the last couple of months, just because I've had, you know, an issue. I've had to get checked out with like multiple doctors and gotten MRIs and stuff like that. So having that issue has kind of been a little bit of a setback, but I'm trying to work around it. I'm trying to get back into it. Now that I know that it's not anything life-threatening, I feel like I can just like jump back into it. So thank God for muscle memory, because but yeah, so I had an issue with like my lower body, and so that was really hard, because I think a lot of women just love leg day, and they love like hitting it hard in the gym on leg days. And so losing that was like, I felt like I was like losing myself, because like I love like going hard on leg days, and I really had to like scale it back big time, because it was kind of a pain issue. So like if I'd go hard, I would be in a lot of pain. And so now that I know that it's not anything life threatening, like I'm ready to just like get back into it. And I've had to like, again, like do it slowly. And I know that I'll get back to like where I was. But like the other day I was hip thrusting, and I was like kind of at a minimal weight, and I was like struggling, and I was like, okay, it's okay. Like it's just going to be like this for a few weeks, and then we're going to progress and progress. We'll get back to where we were. But yeah, I mean, like my mindset is still the same. Like I'm just like ready to attack it and get back at it. But yeah, working out and like incorporating health and fitness into my life, like it's a lifestyle, and it's something I've done for like the last like 12 years, and it's never going to go away.
Right.
I maybe like kind of pulled back from it a little bit because I had to, but yeah, it's something that I will always have.
Yeah, I feel like you've done such a good job of balancing everything. Like, I feel like for some people that would absolutely like some people, me, don't really though. I feel, you know, I'd figured out, we know that, but like for some people it really would crush them, their spirits, their mentality. Yeah. And I feel like you've stayed really positive throughout all of it and had a really good mindset towards it. Yeah,
I'm so glad. Like, I mean, there were times where I was like, will I ever be able to like do the heavy leg days that I love so much again? Right. But, you know, there was a time period where I was a little afraid that this was something that I would maybe have to have surgery on. And it would cause me to be out of the gym for like a long period of time. And even when I was kind of like thinking that way, that was very short lived. I was like, it's okay. I'll come back. I'll be able to come back. And, you know, even in those times I was like, it's going to be okay. Thank God, like, crisis averted, and that is not going to have to happen. So now I'm just like in the process of coming back. Yeah,
that's great. And I think it's important to recognize that we all go through different seasons and phases in our fitness journey. I know, there's a lot of competitors that listen to the show, and one season you may be competing and really heavily focused on that. Another season you may take more of a break and find a new passion, or maybe you've learned to surf or you're hiking, and that's a majority of your time while you're keeping up your fitness or just developing it and growing it in different ways, you know? For myself, I love bodybuilding, but I also love Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. And if it was up to me, I would do all three of them every single day. And I'd add some shooting drills and firearms in there, you know, but the reality is I can't do everything I want to do every single day.
Right. So not enough hours.
Yeah. So we find a way to balance it, you know, and I've had injuries too. Like earlier this year, I had a few injuries. And even with my back, I was so injured I couldn't like get out of my own bed one day.
I remember your sock thing. Like, you couldn't even put your socks on.
The sock thing. That was bad. Yeah. And it was really scary too. But where your mind goes, your body follows.
100%.
I read this book called Evolve Your Brain by Joe Dispenza, and I didn't fully finish it, but I was reading it, and it was right during the time when I had this back injury, and he had quite literally like healed himself from this back injury that he had. That was like, he should have had multiple surgeries. Like, it was insane. And so when I read that, I was like, look, I don't care if it's placebo effect. I'm going to tell myself that I am getting better, that every day I'm getting healthier. Every day I'm getting stronger. It doesn't matter if I can't lift any weights today and all I can do is go from the couch to the kitchen to the bed, you know, because I had moments and days like that. And so I took extra time to read. And during that time of healing, I had to focus on, okay, if I can't be at the gym, then I'm going to read, I'm going to meditate, maybe I'm going to rest, maybe I'm going to spend time for me or whatever it is. So I think it's important just to recognize the season that you're in and understand that it's not going to last.
Right.
So get all that you can out of it.
Right. And that's what I did. I had to like really remember, like, I've gone so hard for like over a decade in the gym. It's okay. Like, it's okay that I'm taking some time. Like, I need to heal myself. Like, I can't just like be going hard like this. Like, and I also think like, I put a lot of pressure on myself to look a certain way. And so this time kind of stepping back from the gym, like, it allowed me to work on my relationship with God and not put like, in a sense, I was really kind of putting my looks and my time at the gym like above like everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so this was, I think this was like a God thing. Like, I think he was like, girl, you need to chill out. Like, gym is not the church. Like, you need to like take a step back. And so like you said, in your time, like you were doing other things. And so that's what I was doing. And that really helped me to not have anxiety. 'Cause like, I'm like, okay, I'm not working out. Am I going to gain all this weight? Like freaking out about certain things. And that really helped me like, just like stay calm and yeah.
And I do have to say, we don't have to mention what for if you don't want people to know, but I did see your butt in a model photo that you have, a recent photo of your butt. And I literally was shocked. I was like, is this your butt?
That is so
it was
funny.
No, really, your butt looks so good.
Thank
so
you.
Props to you.
Thank you. No, when you told me that, I was like, okay, well, coming from you, like, thank you so much. 'Cause like, you know, like people in your life, they can tell you like your butt looks nice or whatever, but like my fiance, I'm like, okay, you have to say that. But like hearing that from someone else, like you have no reason to say it other than because you truly feel that way.
Oh yeah.
So that was really nice. But yeah.
Well, and it was a random text at a random point through the day, so I mean it.
Right. I was like, dang, she stopped her day to like send me this. Okay, cool. Maybe it doesn't look maybe I haven't lost as much muscle as I thought I had. So
right. Okay, so we kind of just nonchalantly dropped that word just now, but officially on the show, congratulations on your engagement.
Oh, yes, thank you.
We hadn't told the show yet.
No, yes, I got engaged earlier this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We're all so happy for you and your love.
Thank you. It was such a surprise. Like I say that like we had talked about getting engaged and like we knew like that we wanted to get married, but like still when it happens, I was in shock. Like I had no idea. He's like super sneaky. Apparently he had the ring for months, showed my family, showed my sister, like all these people knew about it. And like, I was just like aloof. I had no idea. And I'm so glad I didn't like get curious and like snoop through our stuff to try to find a ring. 'Cause like I probably would have found it, but like, I just didn't, I had no clue, but yes, thank you.
Oh,
very much.
Yeah, we're excited for this next phase of your life and love journey.
Yes, me too.
So, okay, your faith journey has been really important to you your entire life, but especially within the last year and a half or so, I personally have witnessed a lot of growth in your life in this area. And I've seen you really lean in and trust God in different areas. You've prayed for me even, and you have like literally the sweetest prayers.
Oh, thank you.
Full of gratitude and encouragement. And just, you can tell that it's really evident of the relationship that you have with God, which is really beautiful. So my question to you is, what helps you to build and deepen your faith? Like practically speaking, what are some things in your life that have really helped you? Because there's a lot of people that listen to this that say, I've been encouraged to go after God again or to turn to God again. So they're listening and they don't know practically what are some steps that they can take to really build that relationship with him.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say honestly, I would just start with like maybe conversing with God. Just saying what's on your heart, almost like maybe he's like your therapist in a way.
I love it.
Just kind of pouring your heart out. And because like God knows our thoughts, he knows what's in our hearts, but he wants to hear us say it. And he wants to hear us ask him for help and guidance or whatever it is that we want in our lives. Like he wants to hear us say it. And so that was something that I didn't really do for a while. I never really prayed for myself. I was always praying for other people, but once I started to kind of just converse with God, like he was my friend, like it made it so much easier. And so I just think like starting to talk to God like he's your friend, because he is your friend. That is kind of an easy way to start. Just start having a conversation and seeing how that makes you feel, seeing where else that can lead you. For me, like having a devotional, even if it's just like a little book that has like a little brief, like maybe like couple of sentences, that can just really help you feel, you know, more at peace, more calm, maybe feel like God's presence in your life. Cause it's hard to try to like start a relationship with God if you don't feel his presence. And so I think that you have to take the first step, cause like he's not just gonna like, you know, be like, hey, I'm here. Like he wants you to want a relationship. And so I think just maybe starting like with a little devotional and start like conversing with him like he's your friend could like really help you like start that relationship.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And I think too, you know, don't be afraid to try different things, right? Like some people think, oh, I need to find God, so I need to go to church.
Right.
And then they go to church and they may not have a great experience.
Right.
And then they think that that's God.
Right.
God is not that church experience that you had. There's like an individual relationship that exists just for you outside of any church or group or community, where God wants to actually like be your friend individually.
Yes.
I will say though, I have gained a lot of growth in my life from being around people who love God, which oftentimes you find in churches.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of bad out there about it, but there's also a lot of good.
Right.
I just do think that it requires a lot of openness and trying different communities and places until you find the place that you feel is real and genuine and heartfelt and really focused on, you know, the love and relationship that you can have with God. Yeah. So I encourage people to go where they know God's presence will be. And in those environments and around those people, I believe it's a lot easier to sense what's there.
Yeah, for sure. And don't be shut off. Like if you have a bad experience, like I'm so sorry. Like I'm very lucky. Like I've never had a bad I've gone to the same church since I was like 10.
Wow.
Yeah. And like, I was the one that like found it. And I told my parents, I was like, we're going to this church. And so we've been going there since then. And
when you were 10? That's
like
so
10,
cute.
11, maybe 9. I don't know, but very young. Like I went, I was like, oh my God, I really love it here. And we just started, I was like, y'all are coming. And they came and we just have been going there ever since. And so, and that's where they still go. And I love the pastor there. Like this is the second pastor they've had. The first one retired. But like both of them, like they've just been truly, like what I needed. And so I'm very lucky. I've never had like an experience that like really turned me away from church, but I know that happens for sure.
So, but I guess you then can be the good example of what it's like having a good church community in your life. Cause we hear about the bad all the time, but like knowing that there's people out there that have good and long lasting, like life lasting relationships with these people and community, like that's amazing.
And one thing I love about this church is they push having community outside of church, and they push getting together outside of the church. It's like, don't just come here one day a week and expect your cup to be filled, because that's just not going to happen. Like you have to do it on your own in your own free time, and you also have to do it with other people. So those two things are really important. It's not just about going to church on a Sunday for an hour and a half. You know, it's like, what are you doing in your morning, or like, you know, your prayer time with God, or like other people that are, you know, Christian as well, or whatever, they're spiritual, whatever you want to say. So that's really important too. And that's something that my church has always like kind of not pushed on people, but you know what I mean? Like they encouraged. Yeah. They've always encouraged to have like things outside of the church.
Yeah, because I think it's important to have people that you do life with, right? Like we're not meant to do life alone.
Yeah.
And no matter what your status is, if you're single or married or you have a family, we're not meant to navigate all these things alone. There's actually a lot of wisdom in coming together with other people that share your similar core values and in sharing the real, authentic parts of yourself, the parts that are like, this feels messy and like I don't have it together and I don't have the answers. You know, sometimes just having somebody to like grab your hand and come into alignment with you and to say, hey, we're going to walk through this together is all people need, you know? And I just think that, you know, those communities are really important. And when I say community, I mean, even just you and one other person.
Right. It doesn't have to be like this huge group. Like, I mean, just one person.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
So while we are on the topic, do you have 2 Bible verses that speak to you? Actually, I did ask her this before the before the show. I was like, I want to ask you what are some that speak to you. So what do you have?
Okay. So I have one of my absolute favorites. Like this is something I have like on a card. It's like by my bed. I actually used to keep it in my car, like in my dashboard area because I just love this verse. And it's probably pretty popular, but it's a little long. But it's Philippians 4:6-7. And it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So that's just, I mean, I love scriptures on not being anxious because I've just struggled with anxiety. But honestly, it's like God's got you and you don't have to be anxious as long as you're like praying, you're being grateful for what you have, like it's all going to be good. And so like, I don't know, that verse is for like probably the last like 5 years has just been like my favorite like go-to verse.
Yeah, I love that so much. I've read it a lot in my life and every time I read it, I'm like, this is exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Because it just really reminds us, like you said, that it's an intentional choice whether we choose to continue to feed into that anxiety or we choose to lay it over into trust. And this is not to diminish or take away from anyone who deals with it on a mental health level at an extreme level. I know it's not as easy as just like, oh, let me just not be anxious. Like I've definitely been into periods of feeling anxious or depressed or whatever it is. And it's like, that makes you want to slap someone in the face and they're like, hey, don't be depressed. Don't be anxious.
We're not minimizing that at all.
It's definitely not minimizing that. But I think this just is an opportunity to show God's plan and his alignment for us. His plan is for us to not live in anxiety.
Exactly.
You know, and sometimes there's a lot of things that we can do to come into alignment with him. And other times it's just having faith and trusting, okay, God, I know that your plan is for me not to live in this anxiety. So here's my weakness. I need you to be strong where I feel really weak right now.
Yeah,
right. And
I
like
love that.
coming to him in that prayer. And I feel like that's when he can like really meet us there.
Right. And I think for me, at least, like for the longest time, I like struggled with the fact that I didn't know why certain things were happening. Like I like needed to know why. But now I'm just like, after praying and like just like getting really strong in like my prayer life and like just coming to God every time I'm struggling with that, I feel like this like sense of peace. And it's like, okay, I don't have to know, I don't have to understand, like it's his plan and like he's doing what's best for me, even though I don't know what that is in the moment. But so that scripture like has always really helped me just like my anxiety.
Yeah, I love that one. Did you have one more?
Yes. And the other one is, so, you know, I'm somebody that has struggled with fear in the past. I'm definitely like in such a better place with it now. But this one is kind of based off of that, but it's Joshua 1:9. It says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So I just love that because it's like, he's there with us in the good times and he's there with us in the hard times. And even when like you can't feel him, he's there. And so that's just something that has really helped me, like especially in the moments when I'm afraid of doing something. It's like God's with you and he didn't give you like a spirit of fear, which is another scripture verse that I love, but he doesn't want you to be afraid of anything. He wants you to just trust in him and have faith that he's going to get you through everything. And So I love that one too.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned there, that God doesn't give you a spirit of fear, right? The rest of that is something along the lines of he gives you a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. And so when I look at that and I assess myself and how I'm feeling and thinking, I can really quickly identify, am I operating from fear or am I operating from power, love, and a sound mind? Because I know in God I get these things, but if God is not with fear, then who am I partnering with when I choose fear?
Exactly.
You know, and then it really just helps me to say, well, let me just adjust and come back into alignment with God, which again is not, it's a lot easier said than done, right? To really do that means that you have to sometimes let go of control in your life or the perceived control, right? Or to let go of the outcome of something, right? So I think, those verses are all really great. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Yes. We are nearing the end of the podcast, so let's get to the drama. The reason everybody came to this podcast was to know the super juicy drama between me and my assistant, Jess. So here it is. After I came back from my solo vacation on the islands at the end of June, I knew that a shift needed to take place in my life. I knew that it was time for a change. And beginning of July, you and I had a conversation around this, and we talked about how this position would naturally be phasing out by the end of August is when we put a timeline on it for. And just for the business people out there listening, from a business sense, once you know that you need to make a shift or adjust, you could do it immediately. But for me, it's really important that I honor the direction of my life while I also honor the people closest to me and everybody in my life that it would affect. So what really shapes my decision as a business owner is not just what is the proper business thing to do or what is the entrepreneurship advice that's out there, but truly what are my core values and how can I allow my core values to be living and evident in my life in situations, conversations, changes, shifts that I need to make. So for me, it was really important to make those decisions in a way where I felt it was honoring myself, my direction of my life, and everyone else around me. So the truth is, we didn't really need to wait until August to make the change, right? But it was important to me to do it that way in order to feel like I'm, doing things the right way. It's important to me to always just do what I think is the right thing in every scenario. So with that conversation, back to you, Jess, I think, that could probably bring up a lot of different emotions and feelings and thoughts. What were you experiencing? Was there fear? Was there excitement? What was how did you experience that? And how did that shape what you did next?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked me that because I think that the old Jess would have definitely been terrified. And anxiety would have just came up. But you probably remember the conversation, but I was very calm. Like I was like, okay, cool. And I think that's because I really felt like I've been praying for a while now for God to kind of show me like my next move in life. And I didn't know it was going to come in the form of like being let go, you know what I mean? But as soon as you said that, I immediately was like, this is God.
No way.
Yeah, I was like, this is God. Because I've been wanting to have my own business for a while and I just haven't done it. And that, I feel like that's a whole other podcast, honestly. But I've been praying about it. I'm like, God, I want to do my own thing. I want to have my business. Like, what is the next steps for me? Like, just show me like the path that you want me to take.
God's like, hold on, let me have a conversation with Emily.
Yeah, right. Like, let me do this. And so anyway, when you said that, I was like, weirdly calm and like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, this is God. And like, even when I told Taylor, like, I was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. And at the time he had just started a new job. He was like at the bottom, like, not getting paid very well. And I was like, okay, I could get another job, no worries. I can get another job. That's fine. And then shortly after that happened, he ended up getting promoted and making a substantially, different amount of money, which I don't have to get a job.
Oh my gosh.
Which means I can focus on my business. So I was like, these things were just happening in a row. And I was like, this is meant to be. Just
Yeah.
like when I reached out to you about the job,
Yeah.
I felt like God was telling me to do that. And so that was a God thing. And then this was a God thing. And it's just like, I feel like any other person would probably freak out, but because like they don't understand, like, you know, everything kind of happens for a reason. But like in my mind, I was like, okay, this is happening for a reason. And I think it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I was so calm. But like,
Yeah.
obviously, like I love working for you. So
Yeah.
like it will be sad to like not come here every day and like, but other than that, like I feel okay about it.
That's amazing. And I think it's beautiful because sometimes our answered prayers come in the form that we did not expect it to come into, right? Like you've witnessed that even in my life, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you that I'm thinking about this, I'm praying about this, then it happens in such a like weird opposite way where I'm like,
times.
wait, what? Maybe I should have been more specific.
Right.
You know, but I think it's a really good example. And I hope people can really raise their awareness as they listen to your story. That sometimes like the exact thing that you're praying for, it's actually being sent to you, and it comes in the form of maybe something that looks like a challenge.
Right.
Because our answered prayers don't always look like the job promotion.
Exactly.
Though sometimes they do.
Right.
Other times it's packaged in a totally different way.
Right.
You know, so I think it's important to really recognize that God is working.
Exactly.
And if you will stay in alignment with him and you will make him a priority in your life, I believe that your spiritual senses will be open to the pathways that he's laying out before you.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I feel like, you know, working for you has really helped me with my self-development and with like my habits and creating these new habits and doing things that have just been super life-changing. And I think that it's all for like the next step in my life.
Like this is preparation.
Exactly. And it's like what I'm doing now, like starting, you know, my own thing is like, I don't think I would be able to do this if I had not cultivated these new habits.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I feel like this is like, God's like, no, it's time. It's time. Like you've put in the work to become the person that like I want you to be, and it's time now to like go into that. And so that's why I was just like, all of this stuff happening, like it's obviously so meant to be. Yeah. That like I can't, there's no denying it.
I feel like you're graduating. That I feel like everyone that comes into my life, there's this period of like learning and growing and, you know, and then I feel like they get to a certain point and they like gain their wings, so to speak. And then
like Megan.
Yeah.
Like she
my
came
gosh.
here.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, what exactly was going on in her life, but I feel like when she left here, she just was like, I'm doing it. And she's doing it.
She's crushing it.
She's crushing it. Like
that's such a good point.
Yeah. And so like
Does that give you hope too?
Yeah.
As like seeing her having.
For sure.
That's cool.
For sure. Cause like I watch her in like her Instagram stories and stuff like that. And she's just like showing her growth and showing her work day and showing the things that she's doing to get where she's at. And it's so inspiring. And so like, that's why like I love following people like that, because it's like, I'm not comparing, but I'm inspired by her. Yeah. Cause like I'm doing a completely different thing, but like watching her and her day to day, I'm like, okay, like those are things I need to do. And so that's what I'm going to do. So,
okay. So we're teasing them the entire time. They're all sitting here like, what is this thing that we keep talking about? So Jess has launched her own business. So will you tell us, what business are you launching?
Yes. So I have an Etsy store now, and I'm selling sweaters, t-shirts, mugs, like all sorts of gift items or things that you want to buy for yourself. And that's another thing that's like, I didn't realize that I was launching at like the best time of the year. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like
you just so happened to.
I know. That's another thing. Like I was just like, okay, it's September. Like we're coming up on the holiday season. This is like the busiest time, especially for like online sales and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, this is just another God thing. But yes, so right now I'm just designing sweatshirts and t-shirts. I've also, I started out doing like digital downloadable things on Etsy. And I was like, okay, I really want to put like more art into this. And so that's why I like transferred over to like clothing. And then eventually my goal is to have my own boutique. So this is like my little baby step into doing that, and just getting experience in the e-commerce world before I do that. So yes.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been really cool to see, you come to work and we talk about it, and I hear you working on your, different designs that you're doing and the business back end and watching YouTube videos, and you've just been like endlessly working on this in order to get it launched.
Yeah.
And I'm just so proud of the work ethic that you've committed to this. Yeah. And I've gotten to see your designs yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah,
I think
yesterday.
Yeah, I was able to go through and look at a bunch of your designs, and they're so cute, and some of them are so funny. Like, I get it all.
Thank you.
And so I'm really excited for you to have this, and I'm excited for this because I do agree. I think it's a first step for you, and it can be a lot of fun. It can be what builds the thing that ends up letting you have that, that ultimate boutique that you're looking to have one day.
Yes. And so, like I said, it's just like the baby step. And I had no idea, like a month ago, if you had asked me, how to run an Etsy store, how to put a print on a shirt, like I would not be able to tell you. But like, I literally just like dove into like the free resources that I had and learned everything that I could. And I didn't get stuck in like the research mode, which a lot of people, I think, just they're constantly researching. And it's like, at some point you got to take that step, you got to take action. And so that's what I did. So, so yeah, here we are.
Yes. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
If people want to support you, then where can they go? We'll place a link below, of course.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about like how they can best support.
Okay. So my Etsy store name is Sweet 214. That's SUITE 214. My birthday's 214 and I love that number. So I was just like, okay, what can I use? So it's Sweet 214 on Instagram. It's shop Sweet 214. And yeah, I'm just going to be throwing all my stuff on there.
And so they can expect there are actual products live right now that they can purchase.
Yes.
And then they can expect a launch when?
Okay, so right now I'm focusing on, obviously Halloween's coming up, fall season's around the corner. So a lot of the theme that you're going to see is Halloween, Thanksgiving related, but I cannot wait to put Christmas stuff up.
Yeah.
So that's coming very soon too.
So if you guys need an ugly Christmas sweater, they can probably find it on your
Okay. You will
Sweet
find
214.
so much festive stuff on there. So I'm so excited.
Awesome. Well, okay. So Jess, you have worked directly on this show and been such a huge part of this project for so long now. And you really believe in the message, which is beautiful. You yourself have been evolving alongside of all of the listeners. So what do you have to say to the Evolve with Emily podcast listeners?
My gosh.
What would you want to say to them?
I would just say, oh, wow, this is,
because you've listened to every episode. You've had to edit all of it, right?
Yes,
and so when you imagine like them at home in their own rooms or in their cars, and they're just this individual that's like listening to the entirety of the message of this podcast, what's something that you'd want to share with them?
I would share honestly, like I am proof of listening to the podcast and actually taking action on the things that you say to do. Like even just reading a self-development book or just like taking that first baby step into whatever it is that you want to do. I'm proof that if you not only listen, but like I take, like before I worked on the show, I would take notes, but now it's like, I'm actually doing the action steps that you're saying to do. So if you're just listening, like that's great. Thank you for listening. Yeah. But if you really want to change your life, you have to like do the things that you're saying to do because you do them. Look where you are. I have been doing them and now I'm, hopefully on a whole new path for my life. So just do what the podcast says to do. Honestly, like
I think that's so practical, and I think it's probably the best advice that you could give them, because how often do we just listen to a podcast and it's kind of in the background and we feel a little inspired for a minute and then we go on throughout the rest of our day and we don't apply anything.
Exactly.
So I just thank you for saying that. I think that is definitely a piece of advice that people can apply and immediately get results from.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being on today's show.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
Of course. Will you still come to game night?
Duh.
Okay, good.
Okay, guys. Invite me. I'm going to show up at the door.
Yeah, right. Bring the goat cheese.
Yes.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Evolve with Emily. Please don't forget to go down to the link below and check out Jess's Suite 214 and make sure to show her some support on this first launch that she has, as well as stay tuned for all of the festive and the holiday type of designs that she's going to create. So thank you, Jess, again. Thank you, listeners, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye,
guys.